Hello and welcome to Matchday 6 of the Championship from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me as always is Daniel, Cody and Charlie Betts. It's a midweek of Matchday 6, obviously Matchday 5 just come for the weekend. And let's see what happened on Matchday 5. The first game from Matchday 5 was a correct scoreline for Charlie Betts. He gets the 3 points there. Other than that, it's scattered points, 1 point there, here and there. The 5-1 Bournemouth prediction ended up in 0-0 for Daniel Cody. The ambitious 3-0 ended up as a 2-1 victory for Norwich.
You've missed something key there, Craig. You've missed something key.
Yeah, you predicted Stoke to win against your beloved Luton Town, and they did. So
that was right. No, what you missed is the fact that Barnsley, Bristol City, I had a 2-1. And that penalty in the 96th minute means that, as people can see now, I am bottom of the table rather than top. And that is the only reason because of that goal. And I'm furious. So
because of that, Charlie Betts wins Matchday 5 with 7 points. Daniel Cody gets 5, and I only get 4. That's because I guessed beforehand. I did predictions, that the other two moaned about. In the table, Charlie Betts leads the table now. He's on 30 points. I'm in second place with 28, and Cody just behind with 27. But he's only got one correct scoreline, and that was on the first weekend of the season.
In Dan's defence, he was going to go for 1-0 Watford as well. And then to be different, he didn't. So he would have had an extra 2 points to his score then as well.
To be fair, for me being that close in the points means over the season, I must have got the most correct outcomes, which suggests that I'm generally predicting the games right, just not the exact result. Mainly because I'm trying to be different to Charlie, but we'll change it this week.
I suppose if you throw enough 1-0s at every game, you're going to get a correct score eventually, aren't you? So that's my approach to it. But
maybe this week. And we start off with the first game on Tuesday night. It's Bristol City, the team that conceded in the 101st minute against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough picked up a 0-0 draw against Reading. And you say it's a good point there, Cody.
It was a good point. I mean, Middlesbrough have been hard to beat since they've started making signings. It's 4 in a row now. Only one win, though, and they've struggled for goals still a little bit. Bristol City were flying, and that result really has put the cat amongst the pigeons. But at home, they've generally been good in the league. I mean, if you want my prediction now, Bristol City, for me, are going to nick this. So I might as well just go straight off the bat and say that I think they will win it. Oh, 2-1. 2-1 to Bristol City, but it could be worrying after the weekend.
Charlie.
Well, I mean, just going back over last week, I thought Bristol City against Barnsley was a banker. I genuinely couldn't see that result. But then, like you say, mentioned about Middlesbrough's sort of defensive record so far against a free score in Reading. So there has to be some mileage in that. So I think I'm going to be a bit of a boring man here. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, I think. I don't think it's going to be one for the purists either. So I think 1-1.
Yeah, this is going to be a close one, to be honest. I think Bristol will be really annoyed that they conceded in the 100, whatever the minute was now, to be honest. It doesn't really matter, they conceded. But a 2-2 draw, 2 goals conceded. A bit disappointed against a team with no manager, but credit Barnsley, they got back into the game. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, great result. 0-0 against Reading, obviously, been flying so far this season. As you alluded to earlier, they're not scoring, considering who they got up top now. So I'm going to stick with a home banker and go for Bristol City to win 2-0. Next game at St Andrews. It's Coventry City versus Swansea. Swansea lost to Huddersfield. That was a very surprising result, to be honest. Coventry lost as well. I'm going to start with you, Charlie. Coventry, Swansea.
I seem to be bashing Coventry every week, but they have had a hard run of fixtures as well. They've not really played any of the easier, majority of their games have been teams in the top half. I mean, if you go by quality on paper, then Swansea should come out winners. But then Swansea haven't been scoring a lot of goals. Any points they have picked up, it's been the odd goal here or there. I'm going to go with that. I think Swansea might sneak a 1-0 win. I do worry a little bit about the firepower, especially since, his name's completely escaped me, but the lad who's got the Spurs from Swansea, they looked a little bit more ropey at the back at the weekend as well. So I think, but they might have too much of Coventry still. Rodon, that's it. Thank you very much. Yes. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 sneaked Swansea City win.
Cody.
I've gone for one better. I think Swansea will win 2-0. Coventry, they lost at Brentford. We expected that to happen. They have probably, take the QPR game out, they've looked more convincing away from home where they've put into good performances. The 0-0 at Barnsley where they looked the most solid defensively, and 2-0 at Brentford wasn't a disaster. Swansea, they made us look silly at the weekend. There's actually a fixture later in this midweek predictions that is as much of a banker as Swansea Huddersfield was, and I'm very worried about it. But after that loss, I've got to give them to bounce back. They've been winning on the road and they've not conceded on the road. So I'm going to go for Swansea to win 2-0.
Yeah, I originally had 1-0 to Swansea, and then I thought I'll put 2-0 to Swansea, and you've gone for 2-0. So I'm going to be a bit different. I think we're all going to agree that Swansea are going to win this game. Coventry, yeah, they've had a tough start to the Championship. I think it's more of a reality check. And before the Coventry fan bash me on Twitter, it's not on YouTube down in the comments. It's not that. I think they'll get there eventually. It's a long old season. I'm going to go for Coventry 1, Swansea 2. Up next at the John Smiths, it's Huddersfield Town versus Derby County. There was rumours going around before Derby's game against Watford that Philip Cocu was going to get the second, Wayne Rooney was going to get taken over. However, Derby still went on to lose 1-0. It was a great shot by João Pedro. His name is a good strike. Huddersfield, as we just said about Swansea, brilliant 2-1 result at Swansea. I didn't see that coming. None of us saw that coming. Do you know what? I think Derby would be really happy to get a point. They look so weak and they lost. They got rid of Jack Marriott, sent them out on loan, and got with Colin Kazan-Richards. That doesn't feel right for me. Jack Marriott already played all 4 games this season. He scored at Kenilworth Road against Luton. For me, it doesn't make it. It's a bizarre situation. And I did put this one down as a draw to start with at 1-1. And this is probably the game I wouldn't want to watch. Huddersfield Derby. Yeah, I'm going to sit for 1-1. Cody.
This is going to be difficult for Derby. There's obviously the national newspaper story going around this morning as we're recording that Wayne Rooney might not be able to play on Tuesday due to isolation periods and whatever else. So it's going to be difficult for Derby. They've started absolutely woefully. They did get their 1 win on the road, though, at Norwich. So maybe you have to bear that in mind. And their other goal-scoring narrow defeat was at Luton. Huddersfield, I said they were a big shout to go down. They had a poor start, but they have bounced back pretty well. 7 points in 3 games. And I'm going to bank on them to continue it. And possibly this will be the one where Philip Cocu goes. Both of the East Midlands clubs, they're not going to like seeing Forest change their manager and start winning games. They might follow suit. So I'm going to go for Huddersfield to nick it. And I'm going to go for the narrowest of 1-0 scorelines.
Charlie.
Yeah, no, I won't go on too much. I echo what you're saying. I think I'm actually surprised that they let Marriott go to Sheffield Wednesday, who essentially are a team that they're sort of vying relegation from as it stands at the minute. I mean, they're only 7 points off. It's baffling, isn't it? Like, talk about losing firepower as it is, the quality of Marriott. And Kazim-Richards, for whatever he's done in the game before, I can't imagine he's going to be any better than what Jack Marriott was. If it's a wage thing, then fair enough. But don't let him go to a team that's 3 places off for you and only 7 points, which could easily get swallowed up quite quickly. So I'm just amazed they let him go there. And on that basis, it just sounds like it's an absolute horror show. So I can't see it getting any better for him. And I actually think Huddersfield, with the confidence you spoke about of those previous results, I actually think it'll be 2-0. I can't see any goals coming from Derby. I just don't know where they're going to get any goals from. Huddersfield are got a bit of momentum, probably buoyed from that result of the weekend. So actually, I think they'll win 2-0. But I honestly don't know what's going on at Derby, because that's got to be something from the top down, to be making decisions like that, letting one of your strikers go to one of your rivals in terms of positioning. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Up next at the New Den, it's Millwall versus Luton Town. It's a great game for the police. I was going to turn up from Luton. Obviously, lost to Stoke. We will not say John A. McHale done the job for him, but they move on from that. No James Collins for Luton. He was obviously ill. He's obviously taking his coronavirus test, and hopefully it's negative. Millwall picked up a win lucky win, I say, against Wycombe, because the goal they got that goal I got disallowed was a joke. I don't know what happened there. Cody, start with you, because this is live on Sky Sports Arena.
Which thankfully is one of the 4 channels covered in a mobile pass, which is what I've got after buying the Carabao Cup tie last month. But in terms of the game, I'm going to be bold with this one. I'm not normally the one who does this. Presuming that James Collins is back and playing, Millwall at home, they've done okay. They drew against Brentford last time out. Luton have been far better on the road in terms of performance. Away at Barnsley, they won. Away at Watford, I'll sort of count that out a little bit because of the nature of the game. At home, we've generally struggled more since lockdown. I don't think we've actually, bar Watford, lost an away game since Nathan Jones came back in the league. So I think as a result of that, I'm going to go for Luton to nick a 1-0 win. Even though I've got Millwall to be right up there this season, I think Luton will nick this one. So 1-0 Luton.
Charlie.
I think what the weekend showed me, because if you look at the actual stats from the Luton game, I know I didn't watch it, but if you look at it on paper, 18 shots compared to Stokes, 8, all of that, Luton with a far better side, it probably does show the reliance on James Collins and his firepower.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to bear that in mind when you're making these predictions. If he plays tomorrow, we've all, you know, I've said a few weeks ago, I'd back Luton against anyone away, to be honest. So if he plays tomorrow, I think Luton will win 2-1. I still think there's a little bit of an creakiness at the back, so I still don't think they'll keep a clean sheet, but I think Luton will win 2-1. If he doesn't play, then that's a completely different, you know, scenario, and I don't know if they'll necessarily put 2 goals in, so it might be 1-1. But I am going to bank on Collins playing, and I'm going to put my prediction down as 2-1. Just quickly on James Collins, I just want to quickly go. I know this has nothing to do with our thing, but how he's not in the Ireland squad still, it absolutely baffles me. They scored 2 goals in the last 7 games, dating back to November 2019, and he still can't make it into the 23-man squad. It's baffling. But anyway, that aside, that was just a little side note for you there. But yeah, 2-1 Luton.
Yeah, totally agree. When you get countless Ireland players testing positive for COVID-19 and he somehow still doesn't make the squad.
No. Anyway, sorry, as a side.
Sorry. We'll go back to the championship now. Sorry. Yeah, Millwall versus Luton. Do you know what? I didn't know Collins after my own game. I didn't even know Collins was even playing. So I'm not too downbeat with losing to Stoke in a way, because where we are on the table, we're 6th in the table. I'm absolutely delighted where we are at the moment. It's a great start from Luton, considering where they were last season. Millwall away, do you know what? I'll be happy with a point. I really would. So I'm going to stick with that theory. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Up next, it's Norwich City versus Birmingham at Carrow Road. Charlie, start with you.
Norwich have been shipping goals for fun, didn't they? I mean, they left it late against Rotherham. You know, they made a bit of a thing about that on yesterday as we were recording. Birmingham are a fairly stout side. I don't honestly know. I can really just see a Birmingham win, and I don't see, actually. I know I predicted Norwich to win the league. I think, I can't remember, at least get promoted anyway. I don't see it turning around in the immediate future. So I think Birmingham might nick it 1, possibly 2-0. I think I'm going to go for 1-0 because I haven't been high scoring so far. So 1-0 Birmingham.
Yeah, I've gone for the same scoreline, but the other way. Yeah, I don't know. I think Norwich at home. I don't know. I don't really have a reason why I've gone for 1-0 Norwich. I'm just going to say 1-0 Norwich. I'll move on to Cody.
Well, one of the reasons you could have used is Birmingham haven't won in 4, 3 draws and then a defeat against Wednesday. Norwich obviously got back to winning ways against Rotherham, but have been far from convincing at home. 2-2 draw against Preston, 1-0 defeat to Derby in the last 2. I really didn't know. I think this is probably my hardest one of the week. So as a result of it, I've done my classic sit on the fence. I am going for a 1-1 draw because Birmingham draw nearly every game. So why not?
Moving on, it's Chris Hughton's first game in charge at Nottingham Forest. He's at home to Rotherham. Rotherham unlucky to losing to Norwich. Forest picked up a late win against Blackburn. Joe Lolly, Charlie's favourite player, Joe Lolly.
That man.
Joe Lolly. Late on as well, he would part. So it's a great start for Chris Hughton. They're up and running. First win of the season for Nottingham Forest. I can see it going. We did say on our review, when Chris Hughton was in charge in our video for that Chris Hughton might actually start well, even though I said I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Looking at that run of fixture that Charlie said in that video, and they could really start going for it now. But I'm going to keep going with it. I think Forest will win this one 2-1. Cody.
I think Forest will win, same as you. It's hard not to go with the new manager bounce. The performance against Blackburn was good. The victory was good against a team that have started quite well themselves. Rotherham, only that win against Wycombe. Apart from that, they've been narrow defeats and draws, but they have lost the games. And Forest under Hughton, you bank on being defensively solid. So for me, it's between 1-0 and 2-1. And I'm going to have to go first rather than give the opposite to Charlie. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Norwich. 2-1 to Nottingham Forest, sorry. I definitely would have been the opposite to Charlie. We're recording this a lot later than normal. 2-1 to Forest, and then I'm going to bed.
So just to make clear, me and you have gone 2-1 to Nottingham Forest.
Yes.
Charlie.
You can already see the difference in Forest's last game against Blackburn. Although it was only 1-0, 16 shots they had, a lot more attacking. Although it looked like probably a bit more on the counter. I think Blackburn had more of the ball. The worrying bit for me for Rotherham was although they had 14 shots and obviously lost the game, Norwich had 21 and scored 2. But I mean, that's a different debate. I do think Rotherham are a bit suspect at the back. And I think if anyone's going to really be clever enough to exploit that with the players he's got, it'll be Chris Hughton. So I think Forest actually might get a couple more. So I'm going to go for 3-1 Nottingham Forest.
The final game on Tuesday night is 8 p.m. kickoff. It's Reading versus Wycombe Wanderers. Cody, do you think Wycombe are getting hard done by 2 disallowed goals in 2 games?
I mean, you alluded to it. The one at the weekend against Millwall was a joke. But there were so many more positive signs in that game for them, not just the goal, but the way they played. They had a lot more territory. They had a lot more set pieces. It was a bit more like the Wycombe of old, and it was naturally aggressive from the start. Something which I said they'd probably get results from if they did it after the Luton game. So I think they're getting closer, but they're obviously playing against a Reading side who, bar a foxy old Neil Warnock nicking a point off them, have not really dropped anything this season. They've been exceptional. So Reading have won 2 of their games 2-0. Wycombe have lost 2 of theirs 2-0. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Reading win. Just logic, that's the most likely statistical result, and it's not often I do that.
Yeah, I agree on the Reading win, to be honest. It's one of those where this fixture kind of scares me. It's one of those, like, Wycombe drew a win, and it could be this one.
This is Swansea Huddersfield all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm going to stick with Reading. I think Wycombe are going to score from a Joe Jacobson corner, like he did on Saturday, which got disallowed. So, yeah, I think they're going to get one Wycombe. It will be from the set piece, but I think Reading will have too much quality and they're going to win 2-1. Charlie?
I think it's hard for Wycombe, though. You look at the next 3 games, they've got Norwich, Watford and Sheffield Wednesday. So it doesn't look great for them in terms of the fixtures. I don't know. I can see him scoring. I think Reading are great going forward. Maybe could get caught on a counter. I think what happened, in my opinion, is Wycombe will get an early one, go 1-0 up, and then it almost like they've kicked the hornet's nest a little bit, and then Reading will kick into gear. And I think actually they'll come out comfortable winners. So I'm going to go again similar to my previous score, a 3-1 Reading. But I think Wycombe will score first.
We move on to Wednesday's fixtures now, and we start off at the Cardiff City Stadium. It's Cardiff City versus Bournemouth. This could be really, really interesting. Cardiff picked up a very good 1-0 win at Preston on the Sunday game. Bournemouth, on the other hand, disappointing 0-0 draw to QPR. QPR was a bit more sturdy. The inconsistent QPR was consistent. They got the clean sheet, so well done them. Bournemouth obviously got Cameron Carter-Vickers now, who we know very well, on loan from Tottenham. Cardiff obviously got Harry Wilson, a very good loan signing, but he's good play, done well in the Championship with Derby a couple of seasons ago. I think this is going to be the game of the midweek. It's going to be one of those. I'm going for 2-2. Cody?
I'm not going for 2-2. Cardiff have lost both of their home games so far in the league this season. Bournemouth drew away at Middlesbrough, won away at Coventry. So everything points to Bournemouth.
This is the Championship.
I know, and this is why we don't do research, but that's not helped me. So I'm actually trying this week. And as a result, it's a tougher opposition, and Cardiff's games have been tight. So I'm going to go for a sneaked win for Bournemouth, because as you mentioned, I said Luton would stay up if they get Carter-Vickers. I now think Bournemouth might go up because they've signed Carter-Vickers. He's that good. And I saw Bournemouth fans slating the fact they'd signed him on Twitter. I mean, seriously.
Incredible.
Seriously, the difference he made to our season last year. Bournemouth are going to win this game, and they're going to win it by 2-0. Not the game of the week.
Charlie?
I found this one of the hardest ones to call, because Cardiff, although they got a win, I banged on about how well Preston has started, but actually they haven't started very well, to be honest. 1 win and a draw, and they've lost the rest. So is this a good indication for sneaking a 1-0 win against Preston? I don't know, actually. So Bournemouth, I don't know. Carter-Vickers, like you say, if we go on about how good he is, as you have obviously seen him, it does point to a Bournemouth win. I don't think it'll be as high as 2-0. I do think Bournemouth will sneak a win, though, and I think I'm going to go just a 1-0 win. I don't think it's going to be the most exciting game, but I don't know, really. It's hard to judge Cardiff after that win today because, Preston are all over the shop, to be honest. But yeah, 1-0 Bournemouth.
Speaking of Preston, they're away at QPR. Starting off with Charlie, because you just moaned about Preston.
Well, it's just 2 unpredictable teams, isn't they, really? It's a real tough one to call. I'm going to say QPR at home. Maybe Preston seem to be struggling a bit recently. However, they did really well against Norwich away from home. So I don't know on this one. I wish I hadn't come to me first. I'm going to bank on QPR having an absolute worldie, and Preston just going to continue with their fairly ropey form. And I'm going to go for 2-0 QPR.
QPR got a great point at Bournemouth. Great point. Preston, yeah, I was watching the game a bit earlier, and it didn't really look inspiring, to be honest. I'm going to go for, I'm going to stick with what I wrote. I'm going to go for 1-0 QPR. Cody?
Well, actually, I think Charlie's probably done QPR a bit of a disservice by calling them inconsistent. They've drawn 3 in a row now. So after a dodgy start, they have
they're consistent now in draws.
Yeah. Preston, although a poor start to the season, they've lost all of their home games, but they've actually picked up their points on the road. So a 4-2 win at Brentford and a 2-2 draw at Norwich, both against tough teams. So I think this will be the game of the week. And I think this will be an exciting game. QPR at home Of course, they're on 3 draws and a bounce, but I'm not going to get them one this week. It is going to be a Preston win, and it's going to be a convincing win as well. It's going to be a 3-1 Preston win, but an entertaining end-to-end thriller.
Just remember, you had QPR 5-1 lost last week.
Well, the QPR fans will be delighted then, because every time I say they're going to lose, they get at least a point.
They get a point. Sheffield Wednesday picked up 3 valuable points on Saturday. Away at Birmingham. They're playing Brentford, though. It's going to be a tough game for them. Ivan Toney is now scoring for fun now, Cody.
He is. He's starting to hit the ground running. I was a little bit worried about him because he's not similar to Ollie Watkins in style of play. Not too similar, but he seemed to do well at the weekend. He seems to be getting going, and the link-up seems to be there. Obviously, Ben Rama's left the club now, but they've still got quality in that side. What does worry me, though, is that their best performances this season, certainly their wins, have come at home Brentford, against Coventry, Fulham in the Carabao Cup, and then against Huddersfield in the league as well. On the road, a couple of draws, not the most convincing, and they've let in goals as well. Sheffield Wednesday, though, the same could be said. Away from home, a brilliant counter-attacking side. At home, again, draw most of their games. So if this game's not a draw, then the stats are trying to run me over it. But Jack Marriott might be the match winner. We don't know yet. But I'm going to have to play safe. There's been draws most of the time for both sides at their respective places. So I'm going for a draw, 1-1.
Charlie?
I think, as Dan's alluded to, it's such a tough one to call. And the bottling part of me wants to go for a draw. But I think I'm better than that. So I just really think Sheffield Wednesday have got so much. And they've added to that already. Brentford, whenever there's a bit of momentum behind them, a bit of pressure, a bit of people taking them seriously, they seem to blow it. And I just think maybe it's a mentality thing. So I'm slightly banking on that. I know it's early doors, but after the win, and we've just spoken however long about Ivan Toney and all of that, that's when Brentford don't seem to do well. It's when they go under the radar a bit, they perform better. So I know it's a bit of a wishy-washy answer, but on that, I'm going to go for a Sheffield Wednesday win. I don't necessarily think Brentford have been that strong defensively this season, so I do think there's going to be a couple of goals in this, but they are good going forward. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Sheffield Wednesday win, but I may regret that.
Well, one of us is going to get a point at least in this fixture. We just loaded on to Jack Marriott sign for Sheffield Wednesday. They also signed Aidan Flint from Cardiff, so that's another good sign defensively for them. Going forward-wise, you've got Jack Marriott, you've got like Izzy Brown behind him. That's going to be quite scary, to be honest. But it's how you do defensively is what caused them problems last season. Brentford, on the other hand, Ivan Toney's now scoring for fun, which I just said. Yeah, the loss of Ben Rama doesn't help them at all. But I'm going to stick with Brentford winning, and they're going to win 2-1. Stoke City versus Barnsley at the Bet365 Britannia Stadium. Stoke picked up a good 2-0 win at Kenilworth Road the other day. Barnsley got that point very late on, as we alluded to earlier. John Obi-Mikel's still there. But no, when you have Stevie Fletcher there, Stevie Fletcher got that experience and that championship experience, and that seemed to be proven vital on Saturday's game. Smash and grab, I'll say, victory for Stoke, but they probably deserved it at the end of the day. So I think they're going to do the same thing again. I think they're going to, obviously, just Barnsley probably have more of the ball, I'll say, but I think Stoke will get the quality enough. So I think they're going to win 2-0. Charlie?
It's a tough one because I think, as Stoke have proven, they're much better on the counter-attack. I think they're much better against teams that are probably as strong, if not stronger than them in a weird way. There's an expectation they'll win this. And I don't know if this game suits their style. Barnsley, for all that we said about them, maybe not being a bit toothless up front, they do actually have a lot of the ball. They had 17, 18 shots against Bristol City, So they're not the worst going forward. So actually, I can't believe I'm saying this. I can almost see another draw. And that's just because I think Stoke at home, and actually Stoke are probably going to have to come out and play a bit because you can't really play counter-attacking football at home to Barnsley. As in, you probably could, but people aren't going to accept that. So there is a bit of pressure on that. I don't know if Michael O'Neill's strong enough, though, to try and do that at home. And there is a risk of trying to catch teams on the break at home, isn't there? Especially ones who are low below you. So in my head, I'm going for a draw. But I maybe think that Barnsley's still ropey enough at the back that even Stoke could still sneak a win out of them. So I think... Oh, do we bold? I'm going to go bold. Do you know what? 1-1.
He's gone for it. He's only gone for a draw, isn't he? We might regret that come Wednesday night.
Yes,
Cody.
yeah.
I think Charlie's insane, to be brutally honest. If we take all competitions in, I know they had that disappointing defeat a little while back at home to Bristol City. Stoke have won 4 of the last 5 with a draw at home to Birmingham, and they've let in 1 goal. They haven't scored many, but they've let in 1 goal. Barnsley, although they've started scoring goals, are still shipping them. If you take out that 0-0 against Coventry, 2-0 defeat at Reading, 6-0 at Chelsea, 2-1 at Borough, 2-2 against Bristol City, and they ruined my weekend last weekend, so I'm not going for them to get me a point. As a result, The only question for me is if I go for Stoke to repeat a 2-0, because they've got individual magic. You mentioned Stephen Fletcher, Nick Powell popping up with one at the weekend. Or will it be the classic 1-0, which Stoke have done so often? But because I agree with Charlie and think they're going to have to come out a bit, I'm going for 2-0. But if it's 1, I'm going to be absolutely furious. I've done the opposite to what I did on Saturday.
And the final game for this midweek, it's Watford versus Blackburn at Vicarage Road. Cody, start with you.
I honestly don't know. Do we bank on João Pedro turning up with a screamer again, as he did against Luton, as he did against Derby? Or do we look at the form book and say, oh my word, both of these sides are very inconsistent, which would be a complete fact. Blackburn, I mean, they beat Wycombe 5-0, they beat Derby 4-0, and then 2 blanks since then. I mean, how on earth do you predict this league? Watford won 1-0, lost 1-0, won 1-0, 2 draws before that in a league and a cup. I mean...
And then 1-0 again on Friday.
I just don't know. It's the hardest game to end on. Because it's been 0-0 and 1-0 every time, logic would tell me to go for that. I mean, I want to go for like 4-4 or something ridiculous, but...
Go for it.
I'm not going for it because that's a simple way to lose a point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Watford to sneak another 1-0 win. Blackburn will make it 3 without a win, and Watford will nick a 1-0. Although I don't think it'll be João Pedro this time.
Charlie.
I sort of agree with what you say. However, I think Blackburn are due another goal glut. I think they've got too much going forward to not score. And Watford have been a bit ropey, just they don't seem to have that confidence about them. Sneaking 1-0s here and there against teams they should probably be playing better against. I mean, even against Derby, really, it wasn't convincing. So I'm actually going to be bold here, and I know I was bold with the previous one, but I think Blackburn are going to win. I think that this will be their turning point again, having had, like you say, a couple of blanks in the last couple of games. So Blackburn don't just score in ones, so I'm going to go 2-0 Blackburn.
You better be bottom of the table after this week, honestly.
I nearly had Wycombe, so no.
For the third game this midweek, I've gone for the same scoreline with Daniel Curry.
He just wants to get that point advantage, doesn't he?
He's being tactical, isn't he? He's taking to the corner. And that's
there we go. That's the original name of the podcast, by the way. It's for the inside people's knowledge. Yeah, to be honest, I think Watford are going to win this 1-1. I don't think they're going to be spectacular. The thing is, they still got, obviously, Sarr's now back in. You still got Troy Deeney coming back in. Watford haven't been convincing this season, to be honest. As we just moved to the results, they've all been, most of it's been 1-0 or a 0-0 or whatever. But I think they'll do the same. I really do. I think they'll do the same. Blackburn, they said they scored for fun to start with, and I don't, as you said, I don't know what's happened to them. I really don't. Yeah, I'm going to go for Watford to win 1-0. And those are our fixtures. We'll put it round up on the screen. There's not really spectacular scorelines this week.
More sensible.
Ambitious 2-2.
Wow.
It's probably the most ambitious one out there, I think, for Cardiff versus Bournemouth. Charlie's gone for a couple of 3-1s at Forest and at Reading. Cody's also gone for 3-1 for Preston. He's relying on Preston to do something this week. And there's also going to be at least a point for one of us for Sheffield Wednesday versus Brentford. And those are predictions from Matchday 6. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. Also, your predictions. We have been very intrigued by your predictions, even though we are absolutely terrible and you're doing a lot better than us. So let us know what you predict, what you think the predictions are going to be for this week. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. You can follow us on Twitter at HonestFootball3, and we'll see you next time.